Good morning, friends, and happy Friday. I'm Xavier, and it's time for the Morning Roundup. I do this little newscast Monday through Friday, and I try to pull the stories that have more of a spotlight for the Black community. Today is Friday, October 28th, 2022. Here's today's news just for you. First up, from Tennessee. Almost every Black officer at this Tennessee Police Department says they've experienced discrimination. Almost all of the 15 Black officers at the police department in Knoxville, Tennessee, have felt discriminated against. This is according to an external review of the department. And none of them thinks the promotional process is fair. Last year, the Knoxville News Sentinel reported that department leadership had attempted to conceal an officer's racist comments and deter a Black officer from making a complaint about the incident. The controversy was indicative of a larger problem of racism at the department, multiple officers told Knox News at the time. The recently released review was conducted by 21CP Solutions, a consulting firm that specializes in improving policing. It was commissioned by Knoxville Police Department's new chief, Paul Noel, who took over the role in June. The findings come on the heels of years of allegations scrupulously covered by the Knoxville News Sentinel of racist behavior in the department, which serves a town of more than 180,000 people in eastern Tennessee. Only about a third of the department's 15 Black sworn officers said they felt they have a voice within the organization or that their supervisors are receptive to their concerns or feedback. That's what this report shows. 12 said they felt the organization discriminated against them because of their race. Black officers were also the least likely to say they felt there was a clear process for de-escalating problems internally. Despite the lack of Black officers and women in leadership positions at the department, with only 9 female officers and 1 Black officer in the rank of sergeant or higher, the report shows that white male officers believe that minority officers receive preferential treatment in hiring, promotional, and assignment decisions. In an interview with NBC News, Noel said he contracted with 21CP Solutions to conduct the assessment before he was even sworn in as chief because he wanted to hear directly from employees in an honest way. The takeaways from the report, he said, are pretty clear. Federal data released in 2020 suggests that most police departments across the U.S. were notably more white than their surrounding communities. In recent years, amid many high-profile deaths of Black Americans at the hands of police, a significant number of police officers have left some of the country's largest departments. Noel called the review of his department a snapshot in time, but that he's hoping for a more full-fledged assessment sometime in the future of what he called a long-term fix. We did not get into this mess overnight, and we're not getting out of it overnight, he said. Next, from Florida. Miami Beach adopts ordinance banning hairstyle discrimination. Miami Beach adopted an ordinance Wednesday banning race-based hair discrimination in housing, employment, and access to public services and facilities. The Miami Beach City Commission voted unanimously to prohibit discriminatory practices based on the texture or style of a person's hair, the city said in a news release Wednesday. The new ordinance applies in cases where hair is commonly associated with a particular race or national origin, such as Black communities, it said. It's unacceptable in 2022 that Black Americans and other minorities still face discrimination based on something so trivial as whether or not they have textured or curly hair, Miami Beach Vice Mayor Alex Fernandez said in a statement. This proves to protect cultural identity and not have to worry about sacrificing who you are in Miami Beach. In March, the U.S. House passed the Crown Act, which seeks to ban hair-related discrimination. That measure, H.R. 2116, which was introduced by Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, passed along party lines. The Crown Act states that routinely people of African descent are deprived of educational and employment opportunities for wearing their hair in natural or protective hairstyles, such as locks, cornrows, twists, braids, bantu knots, or afros. The act has been introduced in the Senate, where it is awaiting passage. There have been a number of high-profile cases in recent years representing what civil rights advocates have warned is a growing problem of discrimination against African Americans, including adults and children at school. In one such case, a high school wrestler was forced to decide between cutting his hair or forfeiting a wrestling match in New Jersey. In another, a New Orleans area girl was sent home from a Catholic school at the start of a new school year for wearing braids. The Crown Act is linked below. Next, from Tennessee, a woman sentenced to 6 years after registering to vote despite felony sues Tennessee for emotional distress. Pamela Moses, an activist who was given a 6-year prison sentence for registering to vote despite being permanently ineligible because of her criminal history, is suing the state of Tennessee for emotional anguish. According to the Memphis Commercial Appeal, Moses contends she suffered mental agony, emotional strain, anxiety, humiliation, and demoralization due to 82 days in jail following her November 2021 conviction for making a false entry on permanent voter registration. The Griot previously reported that Moses, who started Black Lives Matter Memphis, was deemed ineligible to vote after she pleaded guilty to 2 felonies and 3 misdemeanors in 2015 and sentenced to 7 years of probation. She attempted to regain her rights while making an unlikely run for the Memphis mayoral nomination in 2019 and requested assistance from a probation officer to obtain the Tennessee required certificate. That probation officer certified that Moses had completed probation for the crimes that stripped her of her rights, a signed sworn statement that later turned out to be inaccurate. The state later accused Moses of knowing her criminal history, disqualified her from voting, running for office, and manipulating the probation officer into believing otherwise. You tricked the probation department into giving you documents saying you were off probation, said Shelby County Criminal Judge Mark Ward, as previously reported by the Griot. After you were convicted of a felony in 2015, you voted 6 times as a convicted felon. Moses maintained she genuinely believed she was free and clear to vote and run for office. According to the Commercial Appeal, following the district attorney's office delivery of a crucial piece of evidence that the Department of Corrections had previously misplaced, Ward ordered a new trial for Moses. Former Shelby County District Attorney General Amy Warrick's office later decided not to retry the case and instead dropped the charges in April. Moses is now suing the state of Tennessee, Warrick, and current Shelby County top prosecutor Steve Mulroy. Next, from New York, a New York City watchdog group is now allowed to investigate racial profiling claims against police. The New York City watchdog group that investigates alleged New York Police Department misconduct and receives complaints from locals has expanded its purview to include the investigation of racial profiling claims. According to the New York Times, the Civilian Complaint Review Board will also be able to investigate officers abusing body cameras and, in some cases, recommend disciplinary measures to the NYPD. Previously, the police department looked into allegations of bias on its own. Authorities reportedly looked into 3,480 such claims between 2014 and 2021, including grievances that police had mistreated people based on their race, gender, sexual orientation, or housing situation. Still, only 4 cases called for discipline. According to internal statistics from the CCRB, there have been nearly 1,200 complaints about officers who have unlawfully used body-worn cameras since 2018, including 630 just this year. These charges include failing to film an incident or turning on body cams too late. The agreement, however, did not grant the CCRB the power to suggest sanctions for improper camera use. Body-worn footage is such an incredibly powerful tool in order to be able to substantiate whether there was an actual infraction, said Interim Board Chair Ava Rice. According to the Times, we also need to make sure people aren't making a claim against an officer that is, quite frankly, not true. It's important for us to be just on both ends. These changes are really key to increasing accountability, she said. It provides an opportunity for New Yorkers to be treated justly and not to be subjected to a different set of policing based literally on the color of their skin or their sexual orientation. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Keep up with me on Instagram at The Morning Roundup. I also have another show called The Black Case Files, where I do more of a deep dive on murders, mysteries, conspiracies, and history, focusing on people of color. That show is always linked below. Make sure you are registered to vote, and I will see you tomorrow, friends. Bye.